Hi everyone! I hope you had a wonderful holiday break. Here's my greeting card to all of you from the North Pole. That's me in the blue scarf with Santa and Rudolph. My brother Scoob is wearing the fake Santa beard, and my cousin Scrobbins is wearing his carrot nose. I was sad to leave them, but it won't be too long before Christmas comes again. I'm happy to be back from the North Pole to help Miss Chenard teach you about how libraries are organized. Libraries are organized in a special way to help us find the books we want, but people organize lots of things in many different ways and for different reasons. Your dad might organize his garage to make his tools easier to find. You might organize your Legos by their size or color. Or maybe your clothes in such a way that all your coats and jackets are in one place and your pants and tops in another place. When things aren't organized, we say they are disorganized, which is another way of saying messy. Just think how hard it would be to find anything on this person's desk, or a certain book you are looking for here. A little more than 100 years ago, libraries weren't organized very well, mostly because each library had their own way of organizing books. Some libraries organized books in ABC order by their title. Other libraries organized books by their size, and still others by their color, so you never knew what order the books would be in. That's not true today, because all librarians organize books in pretty much the same way. Once you understand how libraries are organized, you can go to almost anyone, anywhere, and find books quickly and easily. I've come back to our library to teach you how it's done. Let's start by remembering that all books are either fiction or nonfiction. Fiction books are made up by the author. They are not true. They have characters, a setting, and a plot. The plot is the story. It's what happens to the characters. If the characters look real, and the setting and the plot seem real, we call it realistic fiction. But just because it's called that doesn't make it real. It's still a made-up story. Nonfiction is the opposite of fiction. So if fiction is not real, then nonfiction must be real. Books that are nonfiction are true. They give information about real people, real places, real events, and real things. In all libraries, fiction and nonfiction books are organized by something that is called a collection. In the Hope Library, there are 5 different collections. A collection is a group of books that are alike in some way. Do you remember when Bocan visited our library? At that time, I showed him where all the collections were located. Picture books for the kindergarten students. Early books for the 1st and 2nd graders. The early chapter or transitional readers for the 3rd grade. Juvenile books for 4th and 5th grade. And finally, the middle school books for grades 6, 7, and 8. So how are the books in each collection alike? Why is a book put into the picture book collection instead of the early book collection? Or another book in the juvenile collection instead of the middle school collection? Let's look more closely at each collection in the Hope Library to see if we can begin to understand how librarians decide where the books go. Here is the picture book collection. Books are in this collection because their pages have a lot more illustrations than text, so that girls and boys can look at the pictures and understand most of the story. The words that are on the pages are very easy words to help kindergarten students who are just beginning to learn to read. And here is the spine of this book. It shows the author and illustrator's last names, the title, and the call number. The first part on top is the collection, P for picture, and the second part on the bottom is the first 3 letters of the author's last name. The books in our early book collection still have more illustrations than text, but in these books there is more text than in the picture books. For this reason, early books, sometimes called easy or everybody books, are a good choice for first and second grade students who are beginning to read. One of my favorite early books is Westlandia by Paul Fleischman. Let's look inside the book. The illustrations in the book tell a lot of the story, but the author also uses more words so that the reader can understand the characters, the setting, and the plot even better. And this is the spine of Westlandia. Just like the picture book example, it shows the author's name, the illustrator's name, the title, and the call number. The E stands for early book, and underneath it is the first 3 letters of the author's last name. This is the early chapter or transitional reader collection. In these books, the text begins to be more important to understanding the story than the illustrations. And unlike picture and early books, the stories are told in chapters. Early chapter books are longer too, usually more than 32 pages, but less than 100 pages. An early chapter series that I really like is Agapanthus Hum by Joy Cowley. This one is Agapanthus Hum and the Eyeglasses. Like many of you, Agapanthus is always moving, and now that she has to wear glasses, she has to be careful not to break them. The author tells about Agapanthus's adventures and misadventures with her glasses in chapters. There are still illustrations in the book, but they aren't as important to the story as the words. And here is the spine of the book. Just as we've seen in the other examples, the spine shows the names of the author and illustrator, the title of the book, and the call number. The first part of the call number is the collection, EC for early chapter. The second part of the call number is the first 3 letters of the author's last name. Welcome to the Juvenile Collection. The Juvenile Collection has books that are good for 4th and 5th grade readers. There are more books in this collection than in any other. Fiction books in the Juvenile Collection have more text than illustrations. The text is more important to understanding the story than the illustrations. And there are more chapters in these books too, which means they have more pages, usually 100 pages or more. Bruce Coville writes a lot of juvenile books. The Skull of Truth is one I really enjoyed. Like nearly all Juvenile Collection books, it has only a few illustrations. The text is what is important. You have to be able to understand the words in order to understand what is happening in the story. And the spine of this book, just like all of the other books we've looked at today, shows the author's last name, the title of the book, and, most important of all, the call number. Because this book is in the Juvenile Collection, its call number begins with J for juvenile. And because it is fiction, the call number includes FIC for fiction. And, just as you have learned today, the last part of the call number is the first 3 letters of the author's last name. The last collection in our library is the Middle School Collection. Because they have lots of text and more challenging vocabulary, these books are for older and more experienced readers. And the books in this collection usually have many pages, so they take longer to read. Waiting for Deliverance by Betsy Urban is a great middle school fiction book. In 1783, orphaned 14-year-old Livy and her cousin Ephraim are taken in by a woodsman and his family. The family includes a young Seneca Indian man who challenges Livy's attitudes towards the Indians she was raised to hate and fear. The attitudes and ideas presented in the book may be difficult for young readers to fully understand. That's why it is here in the Middle School Collection. and the spine of the book is just like those we've seen before. The call number here is just fiction, F-I-C, and the first 3 letters of the author's last name. You may have noticed that all of the books I talked about today were fiction books. Fiction call numbers are the easiest to understand because they just have letters. Non-fiction books have call numbers too, but their call numbers have letters and numbers. I will talk a lot more about non-fiction books and their call numbers in my next lesson when I introduce you to a very important man named Melville Dewey. Before I go, there is one last thing I want you to know about. Now that you understand our collections and their call numbers, it is easy to find books in the library. But when you are looking for a book, make sure you are looking on the shelves in the right way. Books are arranged from left to right on each shelf, and from top to bottom. There are 3 shelves to each bookcase. Let's go up to the next bookcase. So remember, books are put on the shelf in alphabetical order by the first 3 letters of the author's last name. When you are looking for a fiction book and you have the call number, look at the shelves of each bookcase from left to right and from top to bottom. If you don't find it, browse the next bookshelf in the same way, starting here. Libraries never put books in ABC order going in this direction. Now that you know about our collections and how fiction books are organized in the library, I hope you will enjoy finding lots of books on your own. Bye for now.